Hi, my name's Carly Castelli, and this is my curriculum analysis. This is for Dr. Joyce, and the date is March 1st, 2013, and this is my final project for the curriculum course at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. I chose to do the Ohio Learning Standards for science. I chose 7th grade science because that is my content area. So I just decided to relate it to Ohio. I also went to school at Kent State University, so I am fairly familiar with the Ohio standards, even though they're new as of 2011. It's still kind of similar, but it was cool to see the differences between whenever I graduated in 2010 to now. There's Earth and Space Science, which is ESS, Life Science, LS, and Physical Science, PS, just to go over some of the abbreviations there. And I focused on Earth and Space Science because that's what I'm currently covering now in my 7th grade science course. Foundation elements. I like how the expectations for learning are stated, and there's an example there. It gives you the demands that are expected of the students. Also, previous knowledge of the contents listed. It lists what this, if the students encountered this content earlier in their school careers, it tells them what grade and to what extent they learned this material at. And then you get the age-old question, when are we ever going to use this? Well, it tells you. It says, okay, you're going to use this whenever you're in 10th grade for this course, or whenever you're taking physics, and whenever you're, in high school. And that's really cool to see because then whenever the kid does ask that question, you could say, actually, you are going to use this again. Um, Here is just the first page of a topic, and there is where the expectations are listed, and then there's when they'll see the information again. It says grades 3 to 5. All right, and this particular page is talking about cycles and patterns of Earth and the Moon, and you could see how it kind of tells you to what extent they covered it in grades 3 to 5 and also in grade 6. Okay, and then at the bottom there is the future application. So when are we ever going to use this? Well, there you go. You could say in grade 8, you're going to learn the relationship between the hydrosphere, atmosphere, and lithosphere, all right, and how they relate to weathering and erosion. And then also it goes up to high school levels. I didn't notice any for the future as in careers. In the standards where this was located, but there is future, which is cool because then the students can see, and not whenever they graduate from high school, but just to get through the high school years when they're going to see this content again. Visions into practice, classroom examples is another topic that I found interesting. It provides examples in a very organized way to how the students are going to see this information, where they're going to see it again, and it relates to all the different key concepts in science, such as technology and engineering. That's a big one with STEM schools coming up. So the content kind of relates to that. It's kind of geared more towards it now, demonstrating science knowledge, interpreting and communicating science concepts, and recalling accurate science. So I thought that was a pretty cool addition to the standards there. As far as organization goes, I loved it. The subject was clearly stated and the navigation was easy. Instead of scrolling through page upon page upon page, it gave you this menu whenever you first clicked on the PDF. And I just clicked right on to grade 7 science, and it took me right to where I needed to go. Also, there's a legend that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on in the presentation. So the legend, it allows teachers to see relations to technology and today. If you want to incorporate more technology into your lessons, if you go to the little satellite there, you could see that, it's relates to technology literacy in the content there. The I feel that the new standards too are incorporating technology a little bit more into their standards, which is also something that's very important because that's what students like. This generation's geared towards technology, and that's an important addition to the content. Also, it provides activities in ways that it relates to the students. Examples right here, it says produce and test solutions for reducing acid rain and so on. And it also gives kind of outlines for activities, doesn't give you specifics on how to do the activities, but it says, ways that you could test the information, ways that you could implement it into your classroom. So it kind of gives activities, and also there's other portions on the content that gives you websites, science-related websites that you can go to and explore this stuff into further detail. Something that I appreciated in this curriculum was misconceptions. Misconceptions are a very big deal in science, and there's a lot of information out there that the students think that they know, but they really don't. And I like that the new standards address this, and it also gives you ways, such as this website here, you can see it gives you something that you can add into your curriculum, add into your classroom in order for students to see that, what they always thought maybe isn't so. And that'll help the student to understand this new concept that they're learning, and so they can overcome this misconception. Strategies for diverse learners. Again, this is something very important to have in your content. As far as diverse learners goes, this goes for low learners, higher level learners, students that don't speak English. It gives, again, links to different websites, so it's, again, technology related, and gives different resources that teachers can use in order to address these strategies, and in order for learners that need a little extra something, it gives them these resources that you can use in your classroom to help these students out and help them meet their needs. 21st century concepts. This little icon at the top right of the screen, if you see that within the content, then you know that this is using a 21st century concept. I like this because it relates to what is happening today. Example, students could be required to document their data and make predictions for what could happen in the future. Again, this helps students look forward and kind of develop ideas as to what's going to happen later on. I know pollution and things like that's covered in a lot of the material for science, so maybe you could pose the question just so they understand what's going to happen in the future. What if we don't take care of this pollution problem? What's going to happen? That just gets them thinking about today and what they do now, how it can affect the future. So that's another important thing that they incorporate into this curriculum. And it makes it more exciting for the kids also. The more you relate it to them, the better they'll understand the material. Classroom portals allow students to view webcasts, podcasts, and videos. So this is incorporating technology into the standards even more. There's instructional strategies and resources here, and you can see the links provided there. And these links will take you and your students to webcasts or podcasts or interactive activities or videos on the content material. The USGS is a huge one that's used, and I even use it in my classroom, but a lot of teachers don't know about it. So if it's incorporated into the standards and available for teachers, then more teachers will know about it, more educators will know about it, and they'll be able to incorporate it into their classrooms. You can see that Ohio.gov Department of Natural Resources also has a little setup there, and they utilize all of this information as well. I was browsing through some of this stuff and found it very informative, and I even though this is Ohio standards, I bookmarked it for myself so that I could use it in my classroom. Um, More content elements, strategies, and resources. I like how they're provided for the teachers. Um, This allows teachers to actively engage their students, which is especially in the virtual classroom. It's really important to engage your students. I know from my perspective, it's very hard to see if they are paying attention. So it's my job to actively engage the students. And if you incorporate this into the standards, just like it's done here, teachers that are having trouble can just use this curriculum to get some ideas, and then they can just kind of snowball off of those ideas and find other ways to engage their students. Um, this allows students to have an authentic learning experience also. If you're bringing in other resources, such as the NOAA, and things, for example, that NASA might provide, or the USGS. Those provide an authentic learning experience. It makes it a little bit more real to the students rather than just presenting slide over slide over slide. And it's a little bit more real life than pictures are. Right? It puts them there, it puts them into the lesson, it gets them a little bit more involved. Assessment elements. This was the only thing that I was kind of disappointed in. It did give you ways to question students in the visions of into practice section. I personally, as an educator, would like more ways to assess students incorporated into the standards and other ways to evaluate them. I'm always looking for new ideas, just like any other teacher. So whenever it's given to you through the state, I feel that that would be very beneficial to teachers and to make assessing and evaluating students a little bit easier and a little bit more effective, because whenever it's people of higher education levels providing me with this information, I kind of know that it will be effective, and that if I incorporate this into my classroom, that it will benefit my students. Um, this provides it provides visions or plans for teachers in the visions into practice section. It tells you what should be tested and what should be evaluated, but not how to implement it, like I described earlier. Also, there's no evidence of rubrics or examples provided. This little clip here, though, research and document the types of everyday activities that generate the highest and lowest amount of air pollution, and then compare the results. That kind of gives you an example of something to do, but it doesn't go into real great detail. It's just kind of an overview. Critique elements. They use Bloom's taxonomy. I noticed a lot of the keywords there, such as design, investigate, interpret, develop, analyze, adopt. You could see them there in the pictures that I provided from the standards. Those are directly from the standards, and they use Bloom's taxonomy a lot in their descriptions and in their ways to implement some of this material into your class. Continuing on with critique elements, there's activities that are provided that allow students to apply this knowledge to something that maybe can relate to them or something in the real world. The section at the end of each topic is broken up into several different parts, as you can see at the bottom of the video there, such as designing technological and engineering solutions. And I talked about this a little bit earlier. It's just how these standards are broken up and organized, which is great because these organizations patterns that they have can relate to multiple things. The content, it's constructed consistently. As you flip through each topic, everything's organized the same, so you don't have to constantly go and search for everything. For example, seventh grade science is broken up into earth science, physical science, and life science. I could go through each different topic and it's going to be organized exactly the same way, which makes it easier as you're going on through the school year. So you don't have to get to know an entire new type of curriculum and way it's set up as you go through the school year. That's the you know difficulty with having an integrated subject, but this makes it a lot easier because it can be difficult if it's each content is set up a little bit differently. And here's some of the resources I used. Again, I used the PowerPoints from learning sessions 1 through 7. And I also, of course, the Ohio State Standards, and I used a few of the links provided on the website. Thank you for listening to my curriculum analysis. It's been a great school year, or a great course. I learned a lot, and thank you very, very much.